Wonderful.
Put my light on as well. Here we go. Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends podcast. The podcast is designed to help you feel, see, and think differently about the podiatry profession. With me today is Dr. David Farnen, and he is from Cutting Edge Foot and Ankle Clinic in Nashville, Tennessee, which is one of my favorite cities in the world. So, David, welcome to the Podiatry Legends podcast.
Well, thank you, Tyson. It's been a pleasure. It's an honor to be a part of this great podcast, and an honor to be part of. You're legendary, so this is great to be a part of it. Thank
you. It's one of those things. What's funny is it's surprising how many people say, "Oh, we know who you are." I'm going, but we've never met. But I forget how many people listen to the podcast.
Yeah. You have you've hit a milestone or several milestones, of course, and I've been following you through your journey as well. You have a big subscriber following. So like I said, this is a big deal, and a lot of people, listen to you on a daily basis to get the knowledge base for podiatry and beyond. So
yeah, well, it's become something where what's happened with the podcast that I wasn't expecting was the amount of students listening to the podcast and recent graduates. Yeah. And who were thinking about, oh, I'm not sure if podiatry is for me or not. But then they'll send me emails, and I usually get one at least once a week from somebody who will say, wow, this guest you had on. Very rarely does anyone say anything that I said was super intelligent. But there'll be something a guest said or something a guest is doing, and they just go, wow, that really, really interested me. And so I think we've kept a few more people in the profession, which is great. Hey, one thing I want to touch on, because I did mention that Nashville is one of my favorite cities in the world. And if anyone has never been to Nashville and they're going to the United States and they're thinking about, should we go to Nashville? What is so good about Nashville? What do you love about living there?
Nashville, I moved here sight unseen after my training. And what really drove me over here was the idea, and it came to fruition, of Southern hospitality. There is nothing like it. It's a frame of mind. It's something that the folks here in Nashville actually, you always hear Southern comfort food, Southern hospitality, but it's truly legendary here. Everybody remotely wants to help each other. Everybody's so polite. It is the true epitome of Southern hospitality. And really, there's no other place like it. Of course, and the great food. And of course, I'm a big country music fan. Yeah. So this is the country music capital of the world. So there's no other place like it.
Yeah. I remember when we were there, and we must have gone to about 12 bars in a row.
Too.
And every bar we walked into, there was a musician playing, and I'm going, how good is this person? How good is this girl? How good is that guy? This band? I'm going, Nashville is probably the last place I want to go if I want to be discovered, because there's so much talent all in my place, except for one bar. There was one guy that was playing, and I went, my God, finally someone that's a hack like myself.
Well, and that's why you go down there, and you're usually pretty intoxicated, so everybody sounds better. But no, you're absolutely right. All jokes aside, some of the most talented young artists that are there, and the surprising part about it is I treat a lot of folks in the entertainment business is, a lot of those folks that you think are absolutely just blown away talented are never going to get discovered.
Oh yeah, I know. There's so much talent there.
It is. You're absolutely right. It's a wonderful place.
We went to one bar that was on the corner. I think it was 2 stories, and there were like 3 bands playing at the same time. But depending on where you stood was which one you could actually hear, just the way it was all actually set up. I'm going, this is really weird. If I stand 2 feet over here, I hear this band, but I can't hear them. And then if I move over here and then look on this angle, I see the other band, then I can hear them. I'm thinking, what an amazing setup.
Yeah, the acoustics, and it's all pre-planned. When these folks open up these large bars, large entertainment centers, that's what they go for. It's incredible what they did. So,
and I think I had catfish for the first time, deep fried catfish. That was beautiful,
delicious.
Grits.
Oh, so good.
I had grits while I was there. I really enjoyed that. It was a shrimp grits, and what else? Is it Yazoo beer?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. That's a brewery here in town. Absolutely, a local brewery.
I did. I got stuck into it. Like I said, I had a great time, and so I highly recommend it. So this isn't a travel show.
Yeah, but you and I can spend a whole episode talking about how great Nashville is. Really.
I know. I've got another friend that's in there, and he has a Lee Hoffman who lives in Nashville, and he actually has a podcast called I've Been There. It's a travel podcast.
Yeah.
And I've been on his podcast because he wanted to know about cans, and I had to talk about the highlights of cans.
Interesting. I'll have to listen to it because that name sounds familiar. Like I've heard or I've seen that podcast or I've actually listened to it in passing of some sort.
Yeah,
So
he's got a website. He's got the same sort of haircut as me, and I think his website is called Bald Thoughts.
not as handsome though. Not as handsome.
Oh no, 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 no. But I'll hope he's not listening. So I'll send you a link to his details.
Yeah.
So you can check it out. Yeah, he's a really nice guy. So let's get on to the David story.
Yeah.
But before I get there, I just got to ask you, I've seen a number of photos of you on social media with a guitar in your hand. So you do play?
So my story with the guitar, not just, and it's not just a prop because I'm here in Nashville, but indeed, I used to play in college and dabble a little bit, nothing fancy. I wasn't going to be a professional by any means and open up for Keith Urban. But, I did it. And like every young man, I always thought I had the dream of becoming John Mayer,
Oh
not
yeah.
becoming a podiatrist, but I was like, let me be the handsome John Mayer. I think I could do it. The heartthrob, right? And we all knew that wasn't going to happen in life, which is where podiatry fell into it. But all jokes aside, so I dabbled a little bit in college and then kind of put it down because of, as we went to podiatry school and all, and so on and so forth, studying for boards, studying for MCATs and such. And so I just had the opportunity, the Fender factory's here and, we're in the country music capital of the world. I picked it back up again and have been kind of just self-picking and kind of bringing it back. It's like riding a bike, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's good for the hands, it's good for the soul, and it's kind of a self-therapy. So yeah, I've been known to, there's guitars all over my office, anything from 5 in the front to 1 in each treatment room to 1 even in my physician's room, which I'm in now. And I've been known to, in between patients, pick it up and you hear me play. And
Yeah,
I see one
I used
right
to
in the
do.
back with you.
Well, I used to do exactly the same thing. I've got 4, but I always have them in my consultation room.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. The young kids. I remember this one 10-year-old kid came in, and he said, "Oh, do you play?" And I said, "Yeah, do you?" He goes, "Yeah, I do." I said, "Well, when you come in next," I said, "I'll leave 5 minutes after you visit, and you show me something, and I'll show you something." And he
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, okay." So we did that each visit that he came in. And my wife came up to me and said, "He will never let his parents take him to any other podiatrist but you."
See, and they'll always remember that. That's
Yeah.
incredible. Like, and you want to hear a funny story? The other day, I think just yesterday, my front desk staff was actually booking an appointment, and someone's like, "I like to book an appointment with that guitar podiatrist, Dr. Farnen." And I'm like, so I'm forever known, and I didn't even know that as just because, yeah, I took a few pictures. I have several in every office. I'm the guitar podiatrist around town. So
Yeah, and I used to every now and then you just be playing just a tune in between patients, but then
yeah,
you'd go at the reception area and the patients would say, "Oh, it was so pleasant
yeah,
hearing
they love it.
just some live music, yeah, coming out of one of the consultation rooms."
Absolutely, it's like therapy, especially before you do local block injections for ingrown toenails.
At the moment, I'm teaching myself Tenacious D's tribute.
Oh,
Dun,
Tenacious
dun,
D.
dun,
I love a
dun.
little Tenacious D.
Aren't they good?
Oh, not only is it, I mean, he's got pure talent though. I mean,
Oh, he
Tenacious
is
D is,
good.
oh, absolutely. But yeah, so my John Mayer talents quickly faded. I've realized in life I will not be John Mayer. Or
Okay,
I could
so
be the John
here,
Mayer of the podiatry world. How about that? But
yeah, that'll
not of
work.
the music world.
So here's the question: what got you into podiatry? Always interested on how people got started.
Yeah, excellent question. So my podiatry adventure is unique. I didn't have the typical, and everybody, would probably say that, but mine in particular, I don't have one of those cool stories where I was a D1 athlete going to play soccer for the LA Galaxy or for Arsenal or Liverpool. I wasn't that talented, nor could I play soccer. So, but I wasn't a D1 athlete, didn't
That'll
have an
hold you
injury
back.
that right. I didn't have an injury that, a podiatrist put back together, an orthopedist put back together.
Yeah,
Mine was actually kind of interesting. So, I'm originally from California, and my uncle and many of my family members down the line are in the medical field. I knew I was going to be a doctor since the day, pretty much, since the day I was born, really. I mean, my parents would tell you, they have funny stories where I was reading medical textbooks, at age 2, where I can point out a body part when they say it, and my daughters are the same, which is really interesting
yeah,
to see that. But I've always been involved in the medical field. I've been volunteering. I was going with my cousins to cadaver labs at age 7 and 8, and exploring cadavers and actually making incisions into bodies and such. So it's kind of been in my blood, to be honest. There's nothing else I would do. People would ask me, if there wasn't, I want to be an astronaut. I'm going to be a firefighter. It was for me. It was I'm going to be a doctor. And so I was able to connect with a very, very successful podiatrist. Well, first I was going to apply to medical school because anesthesiology is the family business
Yeah.
back home. And I was going to be an anesthesiologist. I was set.
Is that what your parents did?
So my parents are business owners, but my uncles, cousins, you name it, I have, about 4 or 5 down the family line that are anesthesiologists.
Okay.
And so it was almost falling in the line. I was like, oh, anesthesia is perfect. Let's go. And I could say anesthesiologist when I was 3. So, I mean, technically that was it. But my uncle, who was the chief anesthesia at the time and who's on the hospital board, was like, I want you to get connected with podiatry. I was like, what's that? Like every young lad
like most
says,
of us say, yeah.
right. Like every young lad says, like, oh, do they treat kids? That's another one. But all jokes aside, I was like, no, literally, like, what's that? So he connected me with this very uber successful podiatrist. That's probably, one of the best in California, and an amazing businessman, an amazing person. And one day of shadowing him turned into 3 days turned into 3 months, 3 months turned into a year of shadowing him, and him becoming a mentor. And he's actually was our past president of the APMA,
Who
Dr.
was
Jeff
that?
DeSantis. Jeff
Okay.
DeSantis. So if you're familiar with his name, he was our past president of the American Podiatric Medical Association. He's held many executive positions in our organizations, and he was my mentor. And then through him, I gained lots of successful business mentors. And in fact, I actually got to know several through the field. Hal Ornstein was another one through my career, if you know him.
Yep.
Ira Kraus, if you know him.
I do know that name.
Yeah, so these are kind of the good, and these are all past presidents of the podiatry associations here. But I was very blessed to have met those people and blessed to put those people in my life, and they've guided me in the right direction. And here I am today, 7 years later through school, and absolutely love the profession and always strive to better it. These are gentlemen in my life and mentors in my life that have constantly bettered the profession and have had that mindset, and gave that mindset to me to better and progress the profession. And here I am today doing so.
So what went off in your head though? What clicked that when you were doing the shadowing that you went, holy, wow, this is actually, was there a patient or it was a particular case that you followed that you went, this looks more interesting than putting people to sleep?
Yeah, well, it was quite the opposite, actually, right? So I saw this gentleman. There was not one particular case, actually. I saw this gentleman see 50 patients in a day. Okay. And not once did I hear any complaints from anybody. I mean, I saw a smile on his face. Every patient was ecstatic. Every patient was gloating about him, the practice, just the profession in general. And I was just like, is this how it is every day? And he looked at me and he said, you betcha. And he winked at me as he drove away in his Porsche. And I was like, there it is. There it is. But it wasn't a particular case. It was just a kind of a culmination of everything where I looked at this and I said, here's this one man bringing joy and changing the lives of so many people. And here he is. I mean, it could be whether he did a bunion or whether he fixed an ankle fracture or a flat foot, or whether he just cut the toenails of a beautiful little 95-year-old husband and wife.
Yeah.
I mean, these people, like, I could see the life change right in front of me, and it's a beautiful thing.
It's amazing that you say that, going from, say, 4-foot surgery to clipping somebody's toenails. And I know even here in Australia, when I went through, it was sort of like, oh, if you're doing just routine podiatry care, you were sort of like not looked upon as though you were as professional as someone that wore a polo shirt and joggers and called themselves a sports podiatrist, or was right into biomechanics. It was sort of like, oh no, that's beneath me to cut somebody's toenails.
Right.
And that was my big eye opener when I had my first contact with an American podiatrist. Was the first year, was the year after I graduated, 1989. Dr. Leonard Winston, I think he was in the Chicago area, and I bumped into him at the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And he was just telling me about what he does on a day-to-day basis. And he's talking about doing, 4-foot surgery in 1 minute and then clipping somebody's toenails. And I've gone, you do that as well? Hang on, over here, I was told that was routine care is beneath the person that wants to do sports and biomechanics. And then you realize, well, no, you can do everything.
Yeah. And that's, and you touched it, you hit it on the head perfectly. Part of the reason why I love our profession is, there's so many facets. It's multifaceted, right? Like you said, I could do rear foot surgery, from 8 to 9, do routine foot care from 9 to 11, or, and see a subset of 40, 50 patients, be a wound care physician if I
Yeah.
completely want to, be a podiatrist specifically notorious for dermatological disease, be like a dermatology podiatrist, right? Or like you said, a sports medicine podiatrist, or just a reconstructive surgeon, right? Or one of your guests, the complete nerve regeneration surgeon,
Yeah.
all the new cool nerve reconstruction stuff. If that particular, doctor wanted to do just that, she can and be successful at it, and, be the leader in her profession with it. And that's what makes our profession amazing.
And I think it's one of those things that every podiatrist, regardless of whether you're a student at the moment, about to graduate, you've just graduated, been out for a while, is to respect every aspect of podiatry, regardless of what it is. And don't think just because you're clipping someone's toenails that the rest of the profession shouldn't look at you, look
Right.
down on you for actually doing that. Because I'm thinking, if I had a choice, if somebody came out and said, Tyson, you have a choice, cut this person's toenails. Yeah. If somebody came up to me and said, hey, yeah, just redo that part, that'll get edited out, but
Yeah.
it'll stay in the video. Stuff it. So if somebody came up to me and said, Tyson, here's your option today.
Yeah.
Cut that old lady's toenails over there, or stick your finger up this bloke's bum.
Yeah.
What would you prefer to do? And I'm thinking, wouldn't take me long. I'll be going, I'll cut her toenails. So
Yeah.
when somebody thinks, but being a GP or a medical practitioner,
Right.
it would be so much more fun. I'm going, no, I'd rather cut somebody's toenails than poke my finger up some stranger's
100%.
bum.
No, 100%, 100%. And I always tease. I have colleagues that here that I'm friends with when I do operate. These are urologists, and I always tease. I'm like, I'd much rather be doing what I'm doing. You can make fun of me all you want, but being a urologist, not much better than sticking up someone's bum. And I love urology. I love my urologist colleagues out here, but
Yeah.
we poke and tease, and it's a good time. But like I said, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, every podiatrist, whether you're a student or in practice, we should all see each other as equals, at any stage, and whatever that particular person wants to do, I mean, respect it.
Okay. So I want to move on to you're actually a diabetic. You're
Yeah.
diabetic. How has that affected you? Well, how old were you first when you were diagnosed?
Yeah, so I am a rare one. I am not one that it happened as a child and I've developed those habits. Mine happened, in my years of residency. So I was 24 years old, or 24 years old at the time. I was a resident at one of the most prestigious residency programs here in the States.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the day I was diagnosed. And if you want me to go in on that, I will.
Yeah. No, dive into it.
Yeah, so I'll never forget that day. It was like yesterday. I relive it all the time, and I'll never forget. I got pulled into a meeting, and it was a bunch of these attendings and hospital administrators, and I was scared, like any young podiatry resident would be. Like, oh no, what's going to happen here? And actually, what happened was, it's like, they sat down, and it was a dark room, and spotlight on me, and they were just like, "So, Dr. Farnen," I'm like, "Yes." They're like, "You've been slacking off a little bit." I'm like, well, no, like I work. I'm the first one at work. I'm the last one to leave work. I'm not that person. They're like, no, 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 that's not what we're talking about. We've noticed you're sluggish. We've noticed you drink about 3 gallons of water in 20 minutes. Like, and they're like, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah. They're like, don't get offended. And I'm like, oh boy, here it goes. I'm gonna get offended. They're like, have you been doing drugs? And I was like, "Excuse me? Like, are you kidding?" And the whole, no laughs, of course, as you and I can chuckle about it, but
Yeah.
no laughs in the entire auditorium here. And they're like, "No, we're serious. Any amphetamines, any cocaine?"
How many
I was
people
like,
were in the room asking you this question? How many people were in front of
"Yeah."
you?
There's probably about, I'd say about 10 to 12.
Oh,
So it
okay.
was,
That's
like I said,
intimidating. Yes.
already, like I said, I almost had a tear in my eye, like, what's going on here? And
Yeah.
yeah, to have that many people in the room honestly questioning you and questioning your integrity. And I mean, I didn't take it to heart. Maybe at the time I did. And now that I look back, right, I was eating unhealthy. They saw me eating unhealthy. I was losing crazy weight. They would see me eat, like, I mean, we're talking 3 burritos in one setting, drink 3 gallons of water, and not gain a pound. And I was like, oh, please, I work 100-hour weeks. So of course I'm not going to gain a pound.
Yeah.
And plus, I work out and things are great. And so the residency director at the time was concerned. He's like, "Hey, I need you to go get checked." And I was like, For what? I'm Superman. That's impossible. I'm just tired. We're all tired as residents. Let me just go. And he's like, no, 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 you're going to go get checked. And so I was 23 years old, scared, mildly depressed. I got checked, and little did I know, I went to the doctor that day and saved my life. I was diagnosed with an A1C of 16, and just spewing glucose from my urine. My sugar at the time was 860. I surprisingly, like many others, though, my story, I didn't go into DKA. I think my body was so used to running it, sugars between 800 and 1,000.
Yeah.
I never went into diabetic ketoacidosis, which is crazy. And maybe work saved my life in that case, but because
Well,
people are
even
like,
the
oh,
lecturers, even the people at the hospital, noticing there was something wrong with you. Okay, their first thought is drugs because of your age.
right,
They're not thinking diabetes because of your age.
right. Well, I was thin, I was fit, I'm sharp, and I got elected to, like I said, one of the most prestigious programs in training here, and they're like, oh, no one thinks, hey, here this kid is sick, like, the first thing that come to mind was diabetes. But yeah, so at the ripe age of 23, I'm the rare delayed onset.
So how long did it take you? Okay, once you got the diagnosis, how long did it take before you noticed the change in yourself,
So
in a positive way?
yeah, so let's talk about the dark before the light, right? After that, there was some depressive episodes, as you can imagine. I took a leave of absence from the program, and that kind of broke my heart. Everybody, I'm sure my podiatry colleagues who are listening probably were wondering like what happened, because everybody, we're in our profession, word spreads, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, like, he's not working at that particular program anymore. Did he quit the profession? What had happened? So, not that I got many calls I did get calls from colleagues, and I'm very appreciative of that. But, some depression set in, some dark times.
Can I just go back a step then? So when it all happened and then you sort of stepped away, you said that you didn't get a lot of people in the profession reaching out to you to find out how you were.
Yeah.
Is that because they were like thinking, oh, you actually did something wrong, or maybe the drug accusation might have been true, and they were sort of trying to distance themselves?
I think it was more. I think it was more. I think it was less. The whole drug accusation. I think that was and that was the first everyone's ever heard of that. So it's live on your
Yeah,
podcast. But I think it was more. Hey, did he do something wrong? Did he get reprimanded for doing something wrong and leave the profession, of some sort? And yeah, I mean, I think that's probably what it was.
because I have
Or
heard
just
that, like I've seen that happen, with other people where something has happened in their career, and all of a sudden people have just really sort of kept away from it. It's happened to me when I used to have
yeah,
have the
it's kind of
I would
crazy
have a
because
run in with the association or something like that over something,
right,
and then the next thing I just remember this one time sat at this table at this event, and this girl that I known for years, said to me, "Oh, would you mind sitting somewhere else?" I said, "Why?" She went, "Oh, it's not personal, it's business." And I said, "It's all personal."
right,
And I haven't spoken
but
to her since because I refused to, because I thought
right,
my argument with the association has nothing to do with you. But she felt
correct.
by associating with me, therefore that was going to have a negative effect on her. Just
Yeah,
crazy.
and that could be it, or what could be it too is, I've thought about this several times throughout the years. Now I'm well beyond that, right? But that people, it's taboo if something were to happen, and they were like, we
Yeah.
don't want to bring it up, we don't want to talk about it, we don't want him to talk about it, and that's it. So I mean, that's why I like what we're talking about today, because I mean we clear the air, right? We clear the air about everything, and I mean, obviously, people are beyond that. I mean, we're way past that. That was a decade ago
Yeah.
plus, and so, but yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting to see that. A few people reached out. Others probably were just like, "Yeah, we're not going to bring that up."
You know
So,
what? There's probably going to be a few people who listen to this podcast who know you, who never talked to you about what happened back then, and have
right.
always wondered. Now they're hearing this. Now they're going to go, I feel like such an asshole for not actually reaching out.
Like I said, I mean, I was going through. I was trying to better my health, right? The last thing I was worried about was the profession reaching out. I wanted to move forward, right? It's one of those things where I'm one of those people. And as you get to know me, I mean, I move forward and I move forward, let hit the ground running rather, and just move forward and blast through this. And
Yeah.
so, I almost preferred that no one reached out and asked, nor did I care. And at the time as well, I guess, and I want to be honest, a form of embarrassment, right?
What were you
Again,
embarrassed about?
I have the ability to be vulnerable here. Just embarrassed for the diagnosis. For a while, I didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And so you're like, how could you not tell anybody that you're diabetic? I mean, only my family knew. My fiance, or my girlfriend, who's now my wife at the time, or my girlfriend at the time, but now my wife, she knew. But and kind of direct close family, but I didn't tell my friends, which is really interesting. Because people are like, why won't you do that for support? I was embarrassed.
Mm.
Embarrassed because someone like myself, who I thought was invincible, that I was Superman, um, was
6 foot
weak.
tall and bulletproof. Yeah.
Yeah, or 5'9", but who's counting?
But I think everyone's been there. Like when I was 26, I had this insurance guy coming up to me saying,
Yeah,
you need to have income protection. No, I don't. You
yeah,
need to have income. He bugged me for so long until he wore me down, totally wore
yeah.
me down. So I finally took it out. 3 months later, I was off and didn't work for 2 years.
Hmm. Interesting.
And yeah, and the same thing. I just disappeared for 2 years, sitting at home, couldn't do anything. My hands were just totally destroyed.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was the same thing. And then slowly got back into it. So with you, what slowly got you back into realizing that you weren't abnormal just because you had diabetes?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I like being a part of the local organizations and chapters and talking to young guys and girls who have the disease. And it's manageable. You're normal. I can
Yeah.
eat. You can ask me what I ate today, and I'll tell you what I ate today. It was unhealthy and wonderful, but you're normal. I can eat chocolate chip cookies and still be alive. So I think really pushing through there, that immediately, I'm talking about within a month of my diagnosis, or less than a month, I got my A1C from 16 down to 6.1. In fact, doctors were even concerned because
Yeah.
I got it down to, they were like, are you starving yourself? Because now your sugars are more low than high. That's dangerous. And I'm like, no, I'm just healthy. I turned my diet around. I exercised. I got back into the podiatry world and reached out and, shadowed these guys, reached out, did more, got my place back into a residency and really worked hard to do that and, move forward. But it's about pushing forward through, through these things. I mean, that's the important part of people is, you find that thing that drives you forward, like being a great podiatrist, and you push forward.
So at any stage when you had the first diagnosis, do you think, one, they've made a mistake? And once you realize they hadn't made a mistake, once you got yourself healthy and everything was
Mhm.
going great, did you start thinking, okay, maybe it's disappeared? Maybe it's gone now?
You know,
Even, even
you
though we
hope
know
and
that's
wish.
not going to happen, but did you
Anytime,
test it?
or maybe it will, but you hope and wish, right?
Yeah.
You hope and wish that, oh, maybe, because for the longest time, even when I got diagnosed, they were confused because they're like, oh, you're just a type 2. And I'm like, because even in my family lineage, we have a history of type 2, not direct contact, but my aunts and stuff. But and for a while they were just like, this is so strange. You're 23 years old, 24 years old. And for the longest time, I was like, yeah, I wish I was type 2. I can diet and exercise, get on I was on metformin at the time,
Yeah.
before insulin. And I hope and wish that, hey, if I work out 4 days a week, I'm healthy with my diet, which I am. Daily walks with the girlfriend at the time, who's not, like I said, who's now my wife. And I was just like, oh, it'll just disappear. And then I got put on insulin. And then I realized it's sticking with me for life. I might as well enjoy it. It's a part of me.
Okay. How is that now that you've learned to deal with it? It's just part of your life. It's who you are. Well, it's part of everything you do. How has that affected you as a podiatrist and working with patients?
Well, I think it's made me a better doctor, to be honest. Not that I was not a great doctor beforehand, but it allows me to truly, we all say as physicians that we can empathize with patients one way or another. But let's just be honest, a lot of podiatrists, or even physicians, it doesn't have to be podiatrists, don't truly empathize with patients. Or in my professional opinion, me, I can say, especially with our large subset of diabetic patients, that I have the ability to empathize. I've been on the gabapentins. I've been on the metformins.
Yeah.
I've had neuropathy pain that kept me up at night with, restless leg when my A1C was high and lowering. I've exhibited some of the symptoms, right? And so I can truly say when someone's like, I've had multiple type 1 diabetic patients come in and see me because they've heard my story, or even type 2 patients, which again, I mean, I can truly empathize with what they're feeling, right? With neuropathy pain, with numbness in their feet sometimes. And just, having diabetes is a constant challenge. It's not easy. And I tell people, and I was just talking to a young type 2 diabetic fit female. She's a yoga instructor the other day, and she's type 2, and I was just like, get out of here, you're not diabetic. And so we started to really connect on that level. And she actually started tearing up when I was sharing my story with her, and she's like, we connect at a deeper level, right?
Yeah.
We all, you don't truly understand diabetes unless you're a part of, like, and I know you and I were sharing stories prior to us talking, but you don't truly understand what it is to be a diabetic unless
Yeah.
you're a diabetic. Whether you like it or not, you think but you don't. It's a constant battle every day, right? I could check my sugar now and it could be 180. In an hour from now, it could be 65 going down to 40. And then I'm having a hypoglycemia low. It's a
And you
constant
feel the
battle.
highs and lows throughout the day. You can actually notice that.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah. I used to have a problem. It doesn't bother me so much now, but I went through a number of years where my blood sugar would just crash, go
Yeah.
from really high to really low. Did all the tests, and I just had this extremely high insulin level that
Yeah.
wouldn't matter what I was putting in my body, it was just chewing it up.
Yeah.
And I would just have these really, I'd be with the patient. Next thing I would just start sweating, getting
Sweating. Yeah.
shakes, feel like I'm about to hit the floor. And I just go, oh, excuse me for a sec, go out. Always had like orange juice and orange just to
Yeah.
sort of spark it back up again. And,
Same. I
and
have staff
that went
members
for
that all know
years.
that. Yeah. And the great part about it is, I mean, if you were to look at me today, I've come a long way, and like I said, I really can train and coach people to manage it and get through not only the psychological aspects but the physical aspects. And I'm extremely well controlled. I'm that kind of guy that just, like I said, I beat it. It's always going to be a part of me, but I
Yeah.
beat it.
But it's only it's a small part of who you are.
Extremely small part of who I am. Absolutely.
And to me, this sound really weird, but to me, it's no different to the person that has, may have an arthritic neck who has to take painkillers to manage
Right.
their neck pain. It's just
Right.
part of what they have to do, and it's adjusting their lifestyle.
Right.
And there's a lot of podiatrists out there with neck pain,
Yeah.
but you've got to adjust your lifestyle and how you sit and what you do to get through each day and each week and each year. So with the diabetes, it's exactly the same thing. You've just got to manage it.
Yeah, you do. And we're blessed to be in the state of our country where technology, I'm a tech nut and tech guru, and the technology with diabetes now, I mean, I have a artificial pancreas, meaning my pancreas is dead, but
Yeah.
meaning I have all these gadgets and gizmos here, beds or chairside with me that allow my pancreas to act like your pancreas. So, really, I'm truly blessed to have the ability to have that medicine, to have the technology in order to, like I said, I mean, make it a day to day thing. I've suffered no diabetic complications. Like I said, I mean, I've managed it to a T. I'm very obsessive compulsive when it comes to it, and that's where I think a lot of my practice of medicine as well. I'm extremely dedicated and excessive compulsive about managing my patient. Not, I don't manage their diabetes, but talking them through how to manage
But
diabetes
you're an
perfectly.
example for them.
Correct.
So
Absolutely.
so they can see you living your life and looking
Yeah.
extremely healthy and just enjoying life, and to make
Yeah.
them realize, oh, okay, I can do the same thing. If I can
Right.
still have a hamburger when I want one and have a beer,
Right.
just got to
Yeah.
manage your life each day.
It truly is. What I've learned and what I tell patients, everything good in moderation, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, if I want, if I, if a patient brings me fudge like over the holidays that happen, I can have a bite of fudge. I'm still going to be alive. And I think that's important, because I'll tell you this right now. My mindset when I first got diagnosed, I know we talked about that. My mindset was, okay, I've eaten relatively terribly all my life, give or take.
Yeah.
within health and health rounds. But I literally the day after I got diagnosed, I was eating fish and vegetables. That's it. And I realized that's not a life to live. I
Yeah.
realized that that's starving myself, and that being a diabetic, I can eat rice, I can eat pasta, I can eat burgers, I can eat fries within moderation, of course, but everything good in moderation.
You did say earlier on that you did suffer a little bit of neuropathy at one stage.
Yeah, yeah. So when I was first diagnosed, especially during the time, on metformin too, for some reason during that span between when I was diagnosed at A1C at 16 and lowering it, I'd have terrible pain at night where when I got an endocrinologist, they're like, here, take gabapentin. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do all
Yeah.
that. But I took it once at night and hated the medicine and got off it immediately after. And I realized it absolutely. And so again, you can extrapolate that and kind of, when you discuss that with patients, I know what that medicine feels like. I know what it does.
Yeah. And I suppose it's one of those things too, when you're talking to a patient, once again, you can say to them, you can have neuropathy, you can take this medication, or you can start just changing your habits,
Correct.
and you don't need to take the medication, and some of those symptoms will actually go away. And you're proof of that.
Yeah, I'm living proof of it. Absolutely. And that's what I tell patients every day. I'm like, this stuff masks those problems. I mean, the problems underlying are, your ability to take better care of oneself. So,
Yeah, it's true though. The whole empathizing. I went and saw an orthopedic surgeon a couple of months back, neck surgeon.
mhm.
So he did the MRI, did everything. They said, yeah, Tyson, your neck is buggered from whatever you've done to it over the last 50 something
Yeah.
years. And I said, well, should I get surgery? He went, well, put it this way, your neck is as bad as mine. And he said, and he goes, but he said, whether you get surgery now or whether you get surgery in 10 years' time, it's going to be the same operation.
Yeah.
He goes, so
Yeah.
what you got to learn to do is
Yeah.
what I do. He says, is manage it.
Yeah.
Physiotherapy, doing stretching for your neck, taking medication when you need it, but don't live on it. And just
Right.
gave me all these steps. And since I've been doing that, it's you have good and bad days.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I'd say your
Absolutely.
patients getting the advice from you, knowing firsthand that you've had it, well, you
Yeah.
have it, is would be great. Like if I was diagnosed as a diabetic and I went and saw my GP and they were a diabetic, I would feel so much more confident from the information that they're giving me.
Absolutely. And I think you hit it right on the head. I think patients feel the same. I think they can come to me and they really get to know me and get to know my story, and the truth comes out and we talk through it and we make them better.
Yeah, it was like we spoke off air and I said, you don't really understand heel pain until you've had heel pain.
Yes. Yeah,
You
you're
can
absolutely correct.
you can
Absolutely
think you
100%.
understand it, but when you've actually really had heel pain for a long period of time, you can understand the frustration that your patients sometimes go through
Yeah, absolutely.
and why they get grumpy. Hey, so let's change direction a little bit.
Sure.
You've got 5 locations.
I do.
Why?
So you're like, and why do you have 5 locations?
Oh,
So
no. Like I used to have multiple clinics, but you've got 5 locations around Nashville itself. How did that growth happen? What was the thinking behind that?
yeah, so Nashville is a booming city. I know we talked about this, the excitement of Nashville, and I mean it
Yeah.
is seriously one of the fastest growing cities in the country right as we speak for the last several years, in fact. And my partner, Dr. Yusuf Lanier, she's a wonderful and amazing woman, and she's got a growth mindset. Her and I are very much similar. We're cut from the same cloth. You would love her as well, and she's a successful woman. And I'll never forget, she had started a clinic down in downtown Nashville at first. And then, so it was her really. I mean, she got the ball rolling, and all of a sudden, her clinic, and she was by herself for a while. She tacked on another associate at the time, and this was previous about 2, 3 years ago, and she opened up 2 more, and she's a machine, and
Yeah.
so she'd be at 3 different places, and most people listening to this are probably like, why does one want to torture themselves? But she's a go-getter, and she's wonderfully business minded and a wonderful person, a wonderful doctor. And so she found areas of Tennessee here that are in need of good care. And so people were begging her, like literally, like, "Hey, you need to set up a clinic here. I mean, you're the only foot doctor and such as, I know you and I were talking about certain things that certain people would go to, and so people loved her, and so one clinic became three, and that's when I came aboard. And
So did you come on
then
as an employee initially?
correct,
All
initially,
right.
yes. And then we joined forces, and I was just like, she was like, okay, Dr. Farnen, she's like, or David, she's like, what do we do next? And I was like, well, there's a need, when you're a great podiatry duo or trio for that time, at that
Yeah.
time, there's always a need for people asking for these different locations, saying, hey, literally. And our physician colleagues as well, we had a lot of primary care docs and a lot of multidisciplinary docs being like, you guys are it, you guys need to put a clinic here, and I mean, we need you. And so lo and behold, I helped kind of, with her powers and my powers combined, we helped open a clinic downtown. And then I'm here at our Brentwood clinic, which is our absolute new office location in a brand new health building in Brentwood, Tennessee. And this is our fifth and newest clinic, and it's been a blessing. I mean, we really have found niches and pockets in Nashville that people need good foot care, that people have been longing for great foot and ankle care here, and it's been a wonderful experience and adventure.
So you think you'll open up more?
So if she was here, she'd look at me and say, Farnen, no. But I think I live a little more south than here, and there's really good podiatrists in Tennessee, I will say, and
Yeah.
very good orthopedic colleagues as well. But I think that's a fair answer would be probably in the future, once we start really building and building. We built a tremendous team now. I think that's definitely in the future. I think there's a possibility.
I think it's great. And what I find interesting, I think as a solo practitioner, when you own the practice yourself, you might have other podiatrists working with you, associates. But I think whenever I've seen two podiatrists get together and create a partnership that just works,
Yeah,
it's amazing what they can do together.
It's a blessing. I'll tell you this right now. She's family. Her family's family. Her
Yeah.
girls and my girls are family. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's a rare. When they say when you join two, it's like a marriage, right? And I don't believe that. I think if you find the right partner, I mean, this is it's a blessing. It really is, to find someone who's in the right frame of mind, in the thought process, who's forward thinking, who really wants to better the field, and create this conglomerate of offices where we're the best. We strive to be the best in Nashville, and we are.
Yeah.
And it's not just me saying that because I'm biased.
Yeah.
It's multiple publications saying we are the best in Nashville. We are the highest rated podiatrist in Nashville, and that's just, like I said, that's documented.
Well, I always look at it this way: if you don't think you're the best in your area, then you need to work harder.
Yep.
Because like
Agreed.
the thought of me when I had my clinic in Cairns, the thought of being second would drive me nuts.
Oh, absolutely.
Just to me, I couldn't picture that my clinic is the second best in Cairns. No, I wanted my clinic to be the best. And would I say I was the best podiatrist? In my own head, I'd like to say that.
Yeah.
But there may have been someone better, but I would constantly be wanting to work to get better at what I was actually doing.
And that's the most important thing, again. And you bring up a good point. Exactly the point. Like, I work every day, I read every day, I listen to podiatry related, orthopedic related podcasts, literature every day. I learn from our colleagues, across the states and even out of the country as well. Folks like the Bunyan King in Canada. These are all ladies and gentlemen that I am, and amazing doctors and amazing minds that I'm absolutely baffled with, that forward our profession and make our profession better. And I constantly learn from these folks every day, and that's what it takes to be a better doctor.
Yeah, and it's not so much that I'm saying, oh, I'm the best podiatrist in Australia. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, there's hundreds of podiatrists out there that know far more than what I ever knew. But my goal was I wanted to be the best I could be for me. Whereas I've seen some podiatrists that open up a clinic, hide down some alley somewhere, set up their sign, and they're not good podiatrists. They're just not good.
Right.
They're just no good. Everyone knows one. Everyone knows a podiatrist that you sort of go, yeah, nah, wouldn't send my dog there to get the toenails clipped.
It's funny as I heard that someone said that today, and I started laughing. So it's funny that you mentioned that. I heard that directly from a patient's mouth today, so it's kind of funny you said that. But
it's
you're absolutely
true.
right.
Unfortunately, it's true. But I think you got to not worry about them. You just have to worry about yourself. Always constantly try to strive and get better. Hang around other podiatrists that have the same sort of mindset. And what do they say? Yeah, like a rising tide lifts all boats. So I think if all the ones that really want to make the profession better hang around together, it's like me connecting with people on the podcast. I know there'll be somebody listening to this episode today that will listen to you talk and just go, wow, that's changed my thinking towards podiatry. And they are now going to become a better podiatrist because of it.
See, and that's my end goal. My end goal is, not only to be a better doctor, but really kind of, I know the profession's getting more and more popularity, rising popularity from TV and things of that nature, which I love. I've gotten a chance to meet Dr. Brad, Dr. Holler, and interact with those guys via social media and podiatry, which is blowing up, including, and it's been a blessing. And like I said, it's you hit it right on the head. I mean, it's about bringing the profession forward.
Yeah, you've got the look for TV.
I
have the look to being a prison inmate.
I beg to differ. I think you and I can start a show, but it's that. Hopefully, that's in the future. Like I said, you talk about what's to bring of Dr. Farnen and myself in the future, or David in the future. That's definitely on the horizon. I'm hoping. Like I said, I always try to be a better doctor and start to be a better person in general.
Yeah, I did a short film last year, and I was a rugby thug.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was a rugby thug in a pub fight. It was
I love it.
It was a lot of fun. That was just a short film. I should post it somewhere so people could see it, because it is a bit of a laugh.
I think it'd be a blast. I think you should absolutely post it.
Yeah, I was Trent, the antagonist. So I was going to talk about social media as well. Is how much emphasis do you place on this? Because I know your Instagram account, you've got like 17,000 followers on there.
Yeah, there's about 17,000. I actually, surprisingly, and again, not tooting my own horn, I had a previous account that had almost 50,000. Yeah. I got hacked and they took it down. So I restarted a year ago. And so I'm at about 17,000 on social media, which is low for me. But, I'm also a prominent figure on TikTok. And that's where I kind of gained my claim to fame. And TikTok's a lot of fun. And so to answer your question, I love social media. I think it's so powerful. I think it is the future, whether people want to believe it or not. It's the future. I mean, there's no yellow pages anymore. No. So people, so people watch social media, and I don't care if it's Facebook, TikTok, you name it, and Twitter. Well, Twitter's another story, but Facebook, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, you name it. It's so important to get your name out there, your personal brand out there, your business out there. And, my one piece of advice regarding social media for those that either don't want to start it, think they're too old, which again, there's no age on social media. Yeah. But, is really just to get started. I've been, luckily I have professional YouTubers in my family that I married into. And so, they're big. I remember when I was first starting, they were just like, Dave, like, just get started. You worry about how you're looking. You worry about how you're acting. Like, people don't care about that. People will love you just to be you. Yeah. So just get out there and start. And lo and behold, like I said, with my previous Instagram account, my TikTok account, it's been a blast. And I think social media is the wave. I think people need to ride it because it's not going anywhere, whether people like to believe it or not. I think it's only going to get widely more popular. I mean, I have patients that are 95 on Facebook, and they, I post a picture of me modeling or something and they like it and heart eyes it, and they're 95. So, social media has no age. I mean, my 95-year-old patient will call me a sexy piece of ass, like, in the best of ways. And I take that as a compliment. Yeah. But like I said, it's a wave of the future, and people need to get on board.
It's funny when you get an older patient who says some sexual harassment comment to you. And
and that's every week. But no, I'm just kidding. All it's a blast. I love it. You know what's funny? Because at that age, they can say whatever they want. It's
I
not
know. I remember
even.
having this old lady, which must be in the late 80s. She's saying, if I was 30 years younger, I said, if you were 30 years younger, you'd still be 20 years too old for me.
I love it. But I love it. And like I said, social media is so important for these businesses to get out there. I mean, I don't care what business you're in. And like I said, doctors on social media, it's a growing trend now. I mean, you got
Yeah.
the TikTok, or the Dick Doc of TikTok is widely popular, believe it or not. It's happening whether you like it or not.
It's one of those things. One thing I noticed about your social media when I was delving into it was you do share a little bit about your personal life in there as well, which I think is important to not sort of try and say this is my podiatry life and my personal life is completely secret that no one's going to know anything about. Because I always say to people, because they get concerned, oh, what if somebody stalks me? I said, if they want to stalk you, they're just going to wait at the front of your building, follow you home, and
They can do
sneak
that
through your
anyway.
back. Yeah, and sneak through your back door when it's unlocked. They're going to do it anyway. So,
Right. No, you're right. And I take premise, and something that's funny that you mentioned that in the new year, for a while there, I wasn't posting pictures of my family, my beautiful girls and my family. Cause indeed, I mean, I scaled back and, cause I noticed what a lot when with my first account that went big, you had, and Dr. Brad of social media on Dr. Brad Schaefer, that is,
yeah,
there's a fake account every 6 days trying to add me from him saying that, we're partners. And I'm like, I know Dr. Brad, you're not Dr. Brad. So,
yeah,
but what I'm meaning is people steal my photos all the time with my daughter and then, message other people, but you're not going to stop that. You got to realize that that's going to happen. You're not going to stop it. There's going to be a dozen fake accounts with you on there. And, people want to see you're human. People
yeah,
want to see you. It allows you to be humble. It allows you to show that you're human. And I have two beautiful girls. I have the same trial and tribulations with kids, family, you name it. And that's what people want to see. I mean, people actually probably want to see that, in my honest opinion, Tyson, rather than foot stuff, to be
yeah.
honest.
Well, it's funny because, yeah, like I've had fake accounts, and I usually say to people, if you get a friend request from me and it's a fake one and you accept it, then you're silly because you should already know we're friends or we're already
Correct.
connected in
Right.
one way. But I've had people
Right.
who have reached out to me and said, oh, my account's been hacked. I've set up this new account. And I always ask them the same question. I go, if you know me, what's my favorite food?
Hmm.
And if they know me pretty well, they'll go, hamburgers. I go, right.
Yeah.
Okay, it is you.
It's no, but social media has been a true blessing. Like I said, I mean, you want to hear a funny story with TikTok. When I first got into that, I wanted to get on TikTok when it was first, starting out and getting big, to do educational TikTok. Okay, I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about foot stuff. No one liked it. What my first popular TikTok was, if you want my honest opinion, it was me singing a Justin Bieber song. That got almost 1 million views. And then I went out and talked about plantar fasciitis, and it got like 4,000 views. I mean, people don't care.
No, it's
So
true. Like
they
I
just
can,
want to see me be me.
yeah, I can post something in, say, the Podiatry Business Owners Club on Facebook that's a funny joke. I've got
Yeah.
one coming out. I've got one coming out today, which I think is going to get everyone a bit of a laugh. And next thing, there'll be a ton of people that will put the laughing emoji, they'll
Yeah.
comment on it. And then I can post something that's really, I think, good for your business in the Podiatry Business
Right.
Owners Club. And it's like crickets.
Yeah. You'll get like 3 likes, maybe a thumbs up emoji.
The odd thumbs up, and you sort of go, thanks,
Yeah.
mum.
Exactly.
And it's no different even on your personal page. I can post a photo of something that I think is interesting. You might get a few people like it, but you'll post a photo of you at a winery,
Yeah.
or with your daughter doing something, or at a dance concert. And yeah, people want to know, I think, more about people. They don't want to know more about what you do.
Yeah.
They already know what you do.
Right. I mean, they have access to Google, a bunion, or Google a
Yeah.
hammer toe. They have access to all that information already, right? They don't need me. I mean, granted, they should need me to discuss that, but really, like you said, they care more about me dancing. If
Yeah.
I'm waltzing my daughter around the hallway, it's a special moment for people to relate. And I think it's about, like you said, it's about relating to people.
Oh, it's that whole know, like, trust. If they see you doing a whole pile of things, but you're not being a complete utter fool, but you're just being
Yeah.
yourself. So they go,
Right.
oh, I'm thinking of going to this doctor or this doctor. I got this one here who all he talks about is boring stuff, and I got this one
Right.
over here who is letting me into his life a little bit. Oh, I like this guy. I know which
Yeah.
one I'd go to, the one that I actually relate to.
Right. And it's all about relating to people, right? I mean, this, and that's what we do. Our ability not only just to make people's lives better by treating their foot and ankle ailments, but to relating to them, to empathy. And it goes back to empathy, but empathizing and relating to people.
Definitely. So to wrap up, I've got one last question for you. If you were sitting at a bus stop, I don't know why you would be, but say you were sitting at a bus stop, and another podiatrist, don't know why they're at the same bus stop, sat next to you, and they said, "Oh, you're Dr. Dave. Can you give me one piece of advice that you think would help me in my career? What would it be?"
It would be to treat everybody as if they're family. Um, that I've taken that mantra, something so simple and beautiful, right? Again, it goes back to this whole conversation about relationships and being relatable is I have the ability and I would treat everybody like their family. If you came in, not that you would need me because you're a
Yeah.
podiatrist, but if you came in with your heel pain, I would treat you no different than if, Joe Montana came in here or Keith Urban came in here, right? I mean, granted, I'd have
Other
Keith
than
do me
you'd
a
want to get a photo with them, you wouldn't want to necessarily get a photo with me.
I would still want. Actually, I want to get a photo with you more than Keith. But all jokes aside, I would treat everybody the same. And this is something I do. I tell patients I would treat them like family. I would treat, if my grandmother were up there or a family, my brother were up there, I would treat them the same way as I would treat you. I wouldn't change it a bit. And I think my partner, Dr. Lanier, would say the same thing, that the reason why we've gained so much success and we love what we do is we're nice.
Yeah.
Simple as that. That lineup is my piece of advice is be nice. I mean, we have a wonderful profession, and going back to, like I said, what we talked about in terms of what brought me in the profession, right? I saw that guy treat 50 people with a smile on his face.
Yeah.
He gave the person that one glance in their eye that they're the most important person in the world, and they were. And that's what I bring home. Every day I can see 40 patients, do a dozen surgeries, not in one day, but
Yeah.
but who would really want to do that much in one day? But really, I can I treat everybody as if, their family. I remember everybody's birthday. I remember everybody's, just little thing about everybody. I just had a patient today who was like, I can't believe you just remember my daughter's event. I'm like, first thing I mentioned was not even about her foot pain or the surgery. I said, hey, how was your daughter's event? How was, this, that, I remember your mother was going for chemo. I'm able to remember these things, and that's what I care about. I care about people.
Yeah. And if you can't remember, just write it in the file.
Yeah, that's a trick of the
That's
trade. You're absolutely
that's the
right.
thing. It's
And that's
just
what I
right.
learned actually in residency
Yeah.
is you write one thing in their file. But what's interesting is, like I said, I'm very blessed to have a beautiful mind where I do remember. I remember subtle little things. You can say, hey, do you remember that picture of me and my daughter at that event? And I'll always remember it. Like, I saw it, I remember it. We can talk a year from now and I'd say, oh yeah, remember that picture I saw of you and liked and commented on social media. It was an absolute beautiful picture.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic advice. It reminds me of the episode 237 with Jonathan Small, and he called it, it was titled The Loved Ones Test.
Yeah.
And he was just saying that, when you have a patient in front of you, if it was a family member was in front of you, what would you do to treat them? And if you didn't have the skills or the equipment to treat them, you would refer your family somewhere else. So you should be doing the same
Absolutely.
thing with your patients, is treating them like their family.
Exactly. And that's what drives my success every day. And that was a perfect way to put it. That's exactly how I practice. That's my mantra every day.
That's fantastic. So, David, I want to thank you for coming on the Podiatry Legends podcast. I think I'd like to get you back just to talk about social media. I think that would be
I would love that.
another good topic, just to get you to come on and just talk about social media and the different platforms that you've used, how you found they've worked. So if you're keen for that, yeah, I'd love to get you back.
Absolutely. I would love to talk about that because indeed, I mean, even besides being a good doctor, I read, believe it or not, marketing literature.
Yeah.
This isn't just a hobby for me, to be honest. This is something I want to master. This is something that, you know, because algorithms constantly change. And if I could be of any sort and help to people, I mean, I'm willing to do that. And I'd love to talk about that.
Okay, they're great. So we're definitely back. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And you have a great evening. And I always appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thanks.